I started seeing the cortisol spikers in my life. I was my own cortisol spiker because I was always feeling like I was always having to be in a rush. And a huge thing that a lot of women don't realize is urgency is chronic dysregulation. I need y'all to get y'all's labs done. That's if you don't do nothing else, you take nothing else away, you need to evaluate and say, when is the last time I had my blood work drawn? And if it has been 6 months or more, then it's time for you to go ahead and come on in, okay, for you to get your blood work done. Because I realized last year, a lot of women didn't even know what options they had when it came to their fibroids, because the only thing they've ever been told is have a hysterectomy.
That is one of the most common things.
Which, if that is the thing that needs to happen, then for sure, like, do that. But so many women didn't even know a myomectomy existed. They had no clue. When I told them, they were like, what's that? They're like, oh, you still have a uterus? I'm like, girl, I haven't had kids yet, and I want kids.
Welcome to Be Real with Sarah, where the bee may sting and the real never dies.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Be Real with Sarah. Y'all, we are in for a time. I don't know. I just feel like with the stresses of life and all the things that I currently have going on and you have going on, our nervous system is probably, I don't know, jacked up maybe and not together where it should be. But y'all, not only do we have company, but we have a whole board certified family nurse practitioner that is going to get us together. Wellness educator, entrepreneur, nationally known for the work that she's done in her industry, in her career. And again, I think we see women and men and all the people that are doing all the things, and we're probably wondering, like, do they ever catch a break? Are they ever pouring into themselves? And she's going to talk to us about ways that we can do all of those things. So introducing her, the founder, the owner of Eudaimonia Beauty and Wellness Spa. Welcome, Janeisha Mays.
Thank you.
I hope I said it right.
I need to take you everywhere. My height on that
because, I got to give my girl her props. Nationally known, honey, for
Definitely.
the word. And you official. I was like, is she going to wear the coat?
I am, definitely. I worked very hard to get this coat, so I'm definitely going to wear it.
She got the credentials on it?
Yes, the credentials and, my pen so that people understand, okay? Credentialed, like real. We ain't gotta do no whole press tour and all scams, the things, and I ain't got to look you up. And you can look me up. It's gonna tell you credentialed. Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. So, how do you feel today?
I feel great. Like, I absolutely feel great. Yes,
I love to hear that.
And that's not always. It was not always a thing, but today I'm very calm, regulated. All the things.
And I ask you that because you ask a lot. If you ask a lot of people how are they feeling today, they're gonna give you a whole other scenario,
or they're gonna lie,
and something's going on. And so I want to kind of get into that about. I know you deal with so many different people that have. Again, we all have so much going on,
right?
But is it like a effect of like their life or how they're operating with their life, their nervous system? So kind of talk us through those individuals that you encounter like that.
Absolutely. So I feel like everyone is walking around with a chronically dysregulated nervous system. And honestly, when I started my brand, The Regulated Woman, it really came to me from just out of nowhere, to be quite honest. I've never been formally educated on nervous system regulation, like even in undergrad and nursing school, not even in nurse practitioner school. Like, we touch on the nervous system, but not what it means and how it integrates in people's lives. And I feel like that's a huge disservice because it affects so many systems that people just think, oh, it's just stress. Oh, I just haven't slept. Oh, like, it's always a reason why something's going on, but no one ever taps into what the nervous system is actually saying to the body and how you're showing up or your ability to even show up. And so for me, I have been through my own journey I've been in the ER nurse for 10 years before I became a nurse practitioner. And so I have always worked in an environment that's high stress. So for me, I just thought this is just, you're an adrenaline junkie and like this is just your thing. But it wasn't until I hit burnout a couple of years ago where I was just like, no, this may not just be your job. It could be that your job has disrupted your life so much that you don't even know what it looks like to even be regulated. And so once I started really tapping into nervous system regulation and what it looks like, I was like, oh yeah, more people need to, especially high achieving women, more women need to understand what this looks like, what does it mean, and what they can do so that they can live in a regulated state.
Wow. It sounds like, again, we don't really even know that our nervous system is so jacked up.
No.
Like, literally.
No.
I, working in PR, we put the responsibility, well, not necessarily the responsibility, like the fate of a lot of the success of the campaign is on the other end of somebody else's yes. And so our minds are like all over the place. And so listening to you, I'm like, oh, our nervous system is probably jacked up too through stress and worry.
For sure.
And it impacts your daily routine.
For sure. So what I really like, I am in my season of regulation. So my season came because I'm not a mom yet, but I'm preparing for motherhood. So preparing for motherhood looks different for other people. So I decided I get to decide what type of mother I want to be for my children. So what does that look like for me to prepare now before they're here? This is not something that my mother, my grandmother, like they didn't get that opportunity to prepare. I get that. So what does that look like for me to do that? So it really made me start to have to dig into why Janeisha is the way she is, the things that she enjoys or doesn't enjoy, and where did that come from? And so when I really started to dig deep, I was like, oh, I don't like none of that. And so I had the conversation with my mom. So I talked to my mom about this a lot because I feel like a lot of women have a lot of unhealed mother wounds. Thankfully, I'm not one of those. But my mom has mother wounds. And so for me to be able to connect to why and where things come from, we have to have these conversations. And so once I really started to dig, I was like, I feel like I have probably been chronically dysregulated since a little girl because I've always been high achieving, high functioning, hyper independent, very ambitious. And to me, that was just who I was. My mom always made sure, like, you know, you need to seize the things that you want to do. And how else are you going to figure this out if you don't explore things? So I played multiple sports, instruments, like it was always something. So my tabs started being open from a very young age. And so I just thought that's just always how I was. Until I realized I was just like, but this doesn't have to be how I have to be. And so that's really what made me start to be like, well, dang, where did this come from? So the more in depth I started to go, I started to uncover a lot more things that I was just like, wow, some of these I like and some of the things I don't. So how do we get rid of the things that we've always done and create anew? And that's kind of where I am right now.
Okay. That says a lot. So for one, someone listening, how can they say, you know what, I really need to regulate my nervous system. That's been my life. And I feel like that's a lot of our lives, especially as Black women. We're always on to the next, doing multiple things, pouring into everybody else, pouring into ourselves, still not hitting the glass ceilings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do we just like recalibrate our nervous system?
So I get this question a lot, and I will say there's not one thing that's going to make you be like, this is going to switch. It takes time to actually re-regulate, because when you think about it, it's just same like with weight. Like when people say, oh, I want to lose weight. And I tell people all the time, you didn't gain the weight overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight. It's time that it took. So you have to think of the nervous system the same exact way. If you have been in a chronic dysregulated state for years, some people have been in this state for decades, it is going to take a lot of time to unlearn a lot of bad habits that you have learned over the years. So the easiest way to start is an assessment of your life. So what does that look like? So for me, I've been on night shift for about 14 years. So that in itself has disrupted my whole life because my circadian rhythm has been switched. So now you take into that effect of just the sleep component. So my cortisol levels, which cortisol is the stress hormone. And so the natural cortisol hormone is supposed to fluctuate throughout the day. But since I'm a person that's been on nights for so long, my cortisol and my circadian rhythm are kind of at an inverse effect. So when my cortisol is supposed to be high, which would be like in the mornings, mine is lower because I'm asleep. And at nighttime, when it's supposed to be lower, mine is high because I'm awake. So it goes back to regulating that system. So regulating your sleep, what does that look like? There are a lot of people who be like, oh, I just need a few hours and I can recalibrate. But really, the destruction of you not sleeping is doing so much damage to your body because you're not able to have any mental recovery. You're not getting into deep sleep enough, so you're not getting the physical recovery that comes with sleep. Sleep alone is like the number one thing to focus on. Then once you decide that you're going to regulate your sleep, now you have to look at your physical activity. A lot of people think that regulation is a top-down thing. It is really a bottom-up because your vagus nerve that helps to keep this system going really is 80% body to brain. So people think that I just need to just think happy thoughts and do breath work, and that is great. But if we're not physically active, working out, making sure we're eating properly, because you have so many neurons in your gut alone, that's why they call it the second brain. You have 500 million neurons in your gut by itself. So when you start to look at that piece of it, people don't move enough. So if you're not physically active, you're not sleeping, that in itself, you're going to be chronically dysregulated every single day.
Girl, I'm just looking at you like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Because, girl, I've been missing sleep for like 5 days.
Yeah. That was my life. I used to sleep 10 hours a week. A week.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just...
I conditioned myself. So when I started my business, I was still working nights. And so I would have to work at night, see clients during the day, and then go back to work sometimes. So I would only sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, drink 2 bangs a shift, power through, take a nap. And my thing was I would catch up on the weekend. So then I would sleep for 10, 12 hours straight. I would do that for weeks.
That don't even sound normal.
No, it's definitely not. It was definitely terrible. So when I started to evaluate, the weight was the first thing that I was evaluating because I said to myself, you're in a health and wellness industry, but you don't even fit your own brand. Because how do you expect people to take you serious and educate them on weight loss when you're overweight?
Girl.
So I had to look in the mirror and be like, okay, that's cool. So that means if I wanted to grow my brand, this was my thought process. If I wanted to grow a brand, I had to be my first client. So I was already overweight. I wasn't sleeping. My cholesterol levels were through the roof. I did not like how I looked, how I felt. And I was 2 steps from burnout. Realistically, I probably was already in it. But it took someone saying, I don't think it's stress that's your problem. I think you're burnt out. I didn't even evaluate myself to even think that was a thing. Because I'm like, no, I work in high stressful environments. I know how to re-regulate myself. I'm a nurse. Like, what do you mean? And then for me to evaluate that, and I had to actually look at the definition of what burnout was and to understand the difference between stress and burnout, because people think it's synonymous and it's not. And so once I started looking at the definition, I was like, oh, yeah, you probably are.
Tell me what the definition of burnout.
So people think that when you're stressed, this is just your body just saying like you have stressful situations. And this is the analogy I give people all the time. When it comes to your cortisol and your HPA axis and your nervous system, your body does not know the difference between you being chased by a bear and somebody cutting you off in traffic. You're going to get the same response to your nervous system. The burnout comes when it's a deeper level beneath that. So it looks different for everybody. I was a very high functioning individual. Nobody in my circle knew that I was burnt out. There was one person that knew that I was burnt out, and that was my boyfriend. And he was the only person who said, something is wrong. I don't know what it is, and I know I can't fix it, but something's not right with you. And I don't know what that is. And I was like, no, I'm fine. But I wasn't. Because the month of January, this was 2024, 2023, one of those years. The month of January, there's 31 days. I worked 26 of those 31 days that month. And mind you, I worked 12-hour shifts.
Oh, my God.
So I worked 26 of those 31 days. My body had already shut down, but I was just, patching it up. And I would go home. Some nights I couldn't get out of bed, or some mornings I couldn't get out of bed. I was eating just crazy. Sugar, everything was just like crazy, everything. And then that's when I was just like, no, your weight really is a problem. Because why are your cholesterol levels so high? And I started evaluating. I had a lot of abdominal fat. And so I was just like, you got to lose the weight. Later on, I realized it was a lot of cortisol and stress that was sitting in my body as well. And it looked like it was weight, which it was. Now, I'm not saying that wasn't the thing. No, it definitely was. Okay, I definitely had to shed those 40 pounds. But once I was able to do that, then it became, the fibroids was a thing. But then I'm like, the gut is still there. Like your fibroids are gone, the weight is gone, but why you still have this lower abdominal fat? And that's when I was like, it's your cortisol issue.
What?
Yeah.
So, okay. And you fixed that issue.
I'm fixing.
You're fixing.
I am fixing.
Currently,
yes.
Okay. And what are your steps to doing that?
So now that I'm in a season of regulation, the very first thing, and me and my friend have this running joke of cortisol spikers. So there are people around you that will spike your cortisol. Like they absolutely stress you out. And they make you just irritated. Let's just say that word. And so it's really a lot of mirror reflecting and a lot of exercises to see like what that looks like. And so I started seeing the cortisol spikers in my life. I was my own cortisol spiker because I was always feeling like I was always having to be in a rush. And a huge thing that a lot of women don't realize is urgency is chronic dysregulation. Because we're always hurrying to do the next thing. I got to do this. I got to do this. Like we never allow ourselves to just slow down and rest. So the very first thing I had to do for me was to give myself permission to rest without guilt. And that was the most uncomfortable thing that I had to do. And I remember the very first time that I was just like, Janeisha, you have to just sit here and just rest. I cried. I sat on my couch and I cried because I felt so guilty that you have this running list of tasks that you need to do, but you just sitting here doing nothing. It made me feel like I was being lazy.
Yeah.
And my issue with my weight was that reality was you're very lazy. You're not physically active. Like that was a thing that I had to have that come to Jesus with myself. And so giving myself that permission to rest without guilt was the very first thing I had to learn. And honestly, that was probably the hardest thing I had to do for me. Because we're so used to always going to the next thing, always doing the next thing, always making sure we have 50 million things to go on, and we don't even give ourselves the permission to just rest. Yeah. So once I mastered that, I still struggle because I always feel like you're supposed to be doing something. But now I have to tell myself, Janeisha, you have to listen to your body. And a lot of times we ignore it. The body gives all the signals.
Yeah, for sure.
We ignore every single one.
Yeah.
And so once I decided that I had to give myself the permission to do that, everything else started to kind of fall in line. So then I was like, well, what type of person do you want to be? What do you want to be? What type of woman do you want to be for your husband? What type of mother do you want to be for your kids? Like, what does that look like for you? Because in order for you to achieve it, you first have to see it. And I had to see who it is that I wanted to become before I could work towards becoming her. And that's where I am now.
Oh, wow.
And that's just kind of where I started.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is speaking to a lot of high achieving women. I think, we can become, as a high achieving woman myself, addicted to success and trying to go into the next level, and we completely forget about ourselves. And then we're complaining, we're at home and we know something is off, but we're like, well, I got to do this and I got to do that. And I think it's just as a snowball effect to really like your body making you shut down. My mom always says like, you don't want your body to make you sit down.
Because it will.
Because it will.
It definitely will.
And that's what you are speaking to.
Yes.
So to the people that are like, okay, I hear what she's saying, but I can't stop. I won't stop. I got to get this money. I got to get this bag. That's the top of, that's the conversation. From being in your field, what would you say to them?
So the beauty of where I love the space I'm in right now is because I get to have these conversations with a lot of high achieving women and I get to hit them on both sides. So the regulated woman is my nervous system brand. But I also have Eudaimonia Wellness Beauty, which is my preventative wellness brand. So with me focusing on prevention in my wellness brand, now I get to hit the women on both sides. Because a lot of women come to me that they're like, I know something's not right, but I'm not sure what it is. I know I feel off, but I don't know what that looks like to feel on, So I always take the approach of prevention and moving into integrative and functional medicine, which is kind of like the in-between of conventional society that we know and completely holistic medication. I'm right in the middle.
Right.
And so I always start with lab work first because, believe it or not, a lot of women neglect their health when it comes to lab testing, probably more than anybody I've known. Black men too. But we don't take into account the simplicity of just checking your blood work. Because a lot of times you can feel tired and off because your vitamin D levels are in the single digits. Yes. So a lot of people don't know that sometimes your body is fighting against you because there is something that's actually going on. And so that's always the first place I want to start. So the beauty is people can come to me and we have a full lab at our spa. So we're going to check labs first. So we do preventative wellness assessments. So it's not just a regular intake form. Like, yes, I want to know what's your medical history, what's your surgical history, what's your family history. But I also want to know, what is your stress levels like? How much do you sleep? What are your triggers? What are your cycles looking like? Because this is giving me a full picture of what your body is saying that you might not say to me. Because I tell people all the time, your body tells a story that your mouth does not. And the number one truth that's always going to give the 100% facts are those blood work. Yeah. So even if you tell me, oh yeah, girl, I do this and I work out 5 times a week and I have a clean diet, I just be like, oh, okay. One, I'm going to look at you and no, that's not the case. But as soon as I check those labs, I'm going to be like, I absolutely know that that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it's always a place that I start because I'm a science girly. So a lot of people don't believe, I could tell you a lot of things, but once you see the data, then you looking at me like, okay, now I need to work on some things. So I make sure that we do comprehensive assessments, but we also do comprehensive lab tests. And I also do lab tests that are not always checked by your primary care. And so that's the beauty on why I love it because one, primary care, I love that they have such a very intricate job, but because they do, a lot of times there are things because of our healthcare system that certain tests are not going to be covered. Vitamin D is one of those things. There was an article that came out a couple of years ago, an endocrinologist basically said that running a routine vitamin D level is not necessary in a healthy individual. And so because of this, health insurance stopped covering the lab test. So even if you would want to get the lab test done, if you don't have any indicators that says, yes, we should check it, they're not going to routinely check. And 95% of my clients that come through my door are vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
Every single one.
That is crazy.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I was vitamin D
Me
deficient.
too. Yeah, I'm on some real high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so majority of my clients are African American.
Mm-hmm.
So majority of my clients come in and their vitamin D levels are in the single digits. So then now when you add that on top of the food industry, the foods are more and more full of chemicals and antibiotics and hormones. So when you add that on top of the physical inactivity, now your body is telling a whole different story as well. So it's always me starting with just the basis of checking labs so then we can get a full clinical picture so that I can see what is your blood work showing, what are you saying, and then let's put the picture together.
Wow. No, you definitely hit on something with the vitamin D because I actually went to the doctor, I say May,
Mm-hmm.
and I just knew my energy was off. Again, highly stressed, in a highly stressed field. And they told me, they was like, and I looked at the dosage for the vitamin D, I can't even remember, and it was so high. And I'm like, hey, did y'all write the right prescription? They was like, your vitamin D is extremely low. Like they was like, you got to be super aggressive with taking this medication. You got to take a multivitamin. And I just couldn't. I was shocked. I'm like, vitamin D, because no one talks about that. I'm just like, oh, I just need some iron supplements. And
That's what everybody thinks.
And they're like, no, your vitamin D is bad. Yeah. Like, I was like, well, do I need to go to get out in the sun or something?
Yes, but that's usually what a lot of people think. But the thing is, for us melanated individuals, we don't absorb the vitamin D from the sun like our non-melanated counterparts because the melanin in our skin actually prevents us from absorbing it like we need to. So you put that aspect on top, and then you add, a lot of Black people don't like being in the sun in general. We don't like being hot.
Yes.
And so when you add those two things, you're just like, what are you going to do? So you're just chronically vitamin D deficient all the time. So it took me, vitamin D, your number should be in between like 30 and 50. That's optimal. As a integrative provider, I want your numbers to really be between like 50 and 70. So my vitamin D levels were a 9. And I was like, girl, like you ain't got nothing circulating. So it took time, but that's another thing. It took time. So yes, I was on a high dose of vitamin D, but the thing is, the doctor will give you your dose of your vitamin D for 3 months. Yeah. Once you finish taking it, they don't recheck your levels. So how do you know, do I need to continue on this high dose for a while? Or do I just need to go to a daily supplement? These are the things that I've seen in our system where I'm like, no, Janeisha, we have to fix these things. This is where the prevention comes in. Because you come to me, now after those 3 months of that high dose, we're definitely going to recheck that number. Wow. A vitamin D test is $22.
What?
$22.
Child, you spend that at the drive-thru.
Okay. So these are just the things that are in our system that I'm just like, I don't love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you offered like with IV hydration treatments. So, social media has us like on this whole self-care thing. Like we need massages. And what would you say as a high achieving woman to the business entrepreneur professional? What are some in your practice that you think like on a regular basis they really need to be putting into their self-care routine?
So the conversation of the self-care, I absolutely feel like you should definitely do things that are relaxing.
Right.
But it also makes me think like, why is it as a society we feel like we always have to escape our reality? There are so many people that I only go on vacation so I can relax, but I only go on vacation what time of year? Oh, I have to do a self-care thing. Like, yes, you should take care of your body. Absolutely. But in order for you to take care of your body, that means you actually have to do the things to take care of your body. And because a massage is great, okay? An aqua massage resets my nervous system like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. So when we're getting to that level, that's the type of self-care that is doing. But for me, my self-care comes with resting. Like I need you to, and that means resting with nothing else, just you and your own thoughts and resting. And for me, doing the things that take care of your body means making sure you're getting your labs done on a routine basis. So if you are a healthy individual, once a year is great. If you know you got some things in your labs that ain't really sitting well, or you're on medication, you may need to follow up more often. It may be every 3 to 6 months instead of every year. Doing those things is the real self-care. Making sure you're sleeping, that's the real self-care. Making sure that you are exercising, that's the real self-care. There's a reason why the American Heart Association says 150 minutes a week. So many people think that that is just so unattainable. That's not. I tell my clients it breaks down into 30 minutes, 5 days a week, or 50 minutes, 3 days a week. Like however we want to pick your struggle. But 150 minutes a week, that's all we need. You have to do those things to really take care of your body, because the massage is cute, but if you're not really taking care of the temple, everything else is really just going to roll off. Yeah. So in my spa, the things that we do, IV hydration is amazing. I'm giving you concentrated dosaging of vitamins, minerals, and aminos directly into your bloodstream. So you get 100% availability right away. So for me, I'm going to get me a drip. I am now optimizing my supplements and what does that look like, because I want to make sure that my body can perform at its highest peak for as long as possible. So that's why we now do a lot of longevity stuff in our spa. So we're doing things like NAD infusions and NAD injections and getting more into other peptides that we're looking at the longevity, because ultimately, like, I want to be here for as long as possible. But in order for me to do that, I have to take care of the only thing that I don't get another thing of.
Yeah. Wow. So listening to that, for those that say, man, like, I would love to come to her spa, but what are some supplements? Because that's what I'm learning too in my early 30s. Baby, my kitchen counter has so many supplements. But I'm gonna be honest, like, what supplements do we really need to take every day?
So this is a thing. So we actually started a supplement optimization part of the business because I was starting to get this question a lot. People think that their supplements are just like a one size fit all, and they're not. I recommend supplements that you need for your body. So every one of my clients that get supplement recommendations, I know what their labs look like, because I need to know what you're deficient in so I can know if we need to replace that or if we're just needing to just optimize these things. So I do feel like every individual should have a good multivitamin. But I do understand, and my mom helped me understand that, because my mom's like, well, I do take a multivitamin. And I'm like, there's no way you take a multivitamin because your labs are telling me you're not. But a multivitamin definitely just means multiple vitamins in a pill. Yeah. And her vitamin literally had 3 things in it. I'm like, girl, that's not doing anything for you. She was like, well, it is a multivitamin. It is. But the way that marketing of supplements and everything is all a gimmick. Okay. Yeah. It's all propaganda, if you ask me. So everyone needs a multivitamin for sure, but not every multivitamin is made the same. I understand that. So because of the way our foods are, we're not getting the right amount of nutrients from our foods like we should. Unless you're intentional about what you're eating and making sure you're getting the right amount of fiber and minerals, you're going to need to supplement. And so that's always top of line. At least have a multivitamin. If there are things that you know you're deficient in, then we may need to look to see, do we need to add an iron supplement? Is this something that we need to do to add other minerals onto your brand? I am in a pre-motherhood season, so my stack looks very different than somebody else's because my goal is to optimize egg quality to make sure that I'm having the right vitamins so that I can have a healthy pregnancy. So my stack includes, I take 12 supplements a day, and people be like, that's a lot. I do. But because they all are doing my optimization and what I'm looking for is very different. Yeah. So I do 12 vitamins a day plus 2 shots every week. And that's because my goals are different. So it's never like a one size fits all. And I feel like the industry has made it like, oh, you just need to take this, and this, and that'll be great. I can't say that because I don't know what you will need nutritionally. I don't know what you need. Yeah. But a multivitamin, definitely top of the line.
Definitely top of the line. I love it. I love it. Now, we talked about the regulated woman, but you're actually having an event.
I am.
Oh my God, tell us all about it.
So I had a myomectomy, which is a removal of fibroids from the uterus last year. So I had 22 fibroids removed from my uterus, 1 ovarian cyst, and I also had grade 2 endometriosis. And so fibroids run very heavy in my family. Every single woman in my family, except for maybe 2, has had fibroids at some point. And so I knew that it would probably be something that would be a thing for me. But I did not realize my unhealthy habits were definitely making the fibroids worse. So before I decided to get my fibroids removed, when I switched birth control to an IUD. And when my IUD was placed, I had 4 fibroids at the time. 4 years later, when I got my IUD out, I had 22 in 4 years. Now, the caveat, I could have had more than 4 fibroids when I first put my IUD in place, but that's just what was able to be shown on the ultrasound.
Okay.
So it could have been more because at the time of surgery, we thought that there were 15 or maybe 12. And when she removed 22, so there were a lot of small ones that had been hidden behind some of the larger ones. And so when I decided to do the myomectomy, because it wasn't an easy decision for me, I have always wanted to have like a natural birth, and I want to go to a birthing center and all of these things. And my doctor's like, yeah, no, you'll be C-section only after we take these off. Wow. So for me, that was just like, oh, Jesus, like that's a very hard decision for me to make. But shout out to my doctor, Dr. Crable. She's the most amazing. She said the goal is a healthy baby. No matter how they get here, that's the goal. So before I decided to do the surgery, I went on my own holistic journey of removing my fibroids. And that included acupuncture. Acupuncture changed my life. When I tell you my acupuncturist is hands down the best acupuncturist. Now, granted, I ain't never been to nobody else, but there's nobody else that I feel like is so in tune with the body. So shout out to Dr. Nancy Cotto with Eudaimonia Wellness. She is hands down the most amazing acupuncturist I've ever experienced. Wow. And so I started going to acupuncture weekly. That's when I really started to realize my nervous system was really out of whack, because the emotions that came out of acupuncture, the feelings, and that was the smallest my gut had ever been. And this was before I had my surgery. That's how I knew something was wrong with my cortisol, because I was just like, well, man, I lost this weight. I still have fibroids in. And now my stomach is like, she almost on flat. So that was the first inclination. So then I did that, and then it still came down to, girl, we got to get these fibroids out. And so I decided to record the process. I didn't know what I was going to do with that. I didn't know how it was going to come about, but I was just like, I'm going to share it. So I started sharing the journey. My DMs were flooded with women who were, I've gone through the same thing. I have fibroids too. Like, so many women were sending me messages that I was just like, wow, we don't have a space for women to talk about these things. We don't have a space for women to be comfortable with talking to experts about what's going on, for them to understand what their options are. So many women were like, I have these fibroids and they've been here for years. I'm having heavy cycles, and nobody addresses it. So that's where the fibro room came from. So it came from me sharing my own experience. And so I say my story birthed the room, because it was allowing other women the opportunity to have the conversations that we weren't ever meant to have, to really understand what it means for your body, your womb health, hormonal issues, and for us to have an intimate conversation about it. So this is actually our second year doing it. And the panelists, thankfully, that they love me so much. So my OB-GYN who performed my myomectomy is our keynote again. So Dr. Juanita Crable, she's also the keynote for the second year this year. And then my acupuncturist, she's also on the panel too. And so I bring together the things that I feel like people are missing. When I found out that I had the fibroids, we just watch and wait. But I didn't know what that meant in order to watch and wait. So my stress levels were extremely high, which contribute to the fibroids. My eating habits were not great, which were contributing to the fibroids. My physical inactivity was not very well, which was contributing to my fibroids. So there were so many things that I was doing in my life that were probably making my fibroid. I created a breeding ground. Oh, and my caffeine levels were crazy because I was drinking 2 bangs a shift. So my caffeine levels were so high, they were contributing to my fibroids too. So there were so many things that I learned that we can't say what causes the fibroids, but we know what makes them worse. And so creating that space for women to be able to have the conversations with experts, having the conversations about what that means to really heal your womb. So we have a therapist there because those are conversations that women don't realize, that there is a connection between your womb and how you move throughout your life. And a lot of women have traumas to their wombs, and that contributes to your fibroids too. And so it's creating the space. This year, we're also doing a dietitian because having the types of foods that you eat also contributes to them too. Yeah. So I try to make sure that I'm hitting all of the things that people need in this space. Yeah. So we're doing the fibroid room again this year, July 26th here in Dallas. But we're adding some key components this year. So we're doing 4 activation stations this year, which is basically things that you get to have that can contribute. So we're going to have iron panels being ran this year. So because a lot of women don't realize low iron contributes to your fibroids. Okay. And we're doing hormone assessments. So we'll have a women's health nurse practitioner that's going to be sitting there doing a hormone assessment to kind of figure out where you are. We're doing ear seeds. Our acupuncture is going to be doing the ear seeds. So it's really going to be an amazing, immersive experience while you still get the opportunity to ask your questions, get information, and kind of figure out what your options are. Because I realized last year, a lot of women didn't even know what options they had when it came to their fibroids, because the only thing they've ever been told is have a hysterectomy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one of the most common things.
Which, if that is the thing that needs to happen, then for sure, do that. But so many women didn't even know a myomectomy existed. They had no clue. Yeah. When I told them, they were like, "What's that?" Yeah. They're like, "Oh, you still have a uterus?" I'm like, "Yeah, girl, I haven't had kids yet, and I want kids." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was an option."
Maybe it's not even being told.
No. And that blows my mind. And so more women need to have, and a lot of women think that because it's called the fibro room that we're only talking about fibroids. Like, yes, we are talking about fibroids, but we're talking about hormonal imbalances. We're talking about womb wellness. Like, all women need, even if you haven't experienced it, you may have had somebody that has, or you have questions about womb health. You have questions about hormonal issues. Like, it's all going to be covered within this space.
Oh, wow. And you hit something earlier on about the different types of food that we eat. So it has to be some foods that we are eating normally, especially as Black women, that are like one of the top triggers in body weight, hormones. What have you seen as the most common foods that we need to stay away from?
I will say this. I love being Black, and in every lifetime I'm going to choose Black, okay? But a lot of times how we cook and prepare our foods is not the healthiest. Even if, I love greens, okay? Yeah. Greens are great for us. But sometimes we always putting them ham hocks in there, and that's not the thing that we need to do. Like, throw a little turkey neck in there or something. Like, a lot of the times it's how we prepare our foods. We douse it in butter, and we want to add all the sugar to the sweet potatoes. Like, there are healthier alternatives that we can use so that we can still have the foods. I'm not saying you can't have it at all, but there's moderation. And that's the thing that people forget. I love a Southern meal at any moment, but I cannot eat that every week. Maybe even once a month is really a lot. Yeah. If I'm being realistic, these are things that we can have sometimes. So really understanding what you're consuming, where you're buying your food, because that's a big issue too. Where you're getting your foods from is going to determine the quality too. So I have switched completely where I shop. Like, Trader Joe's is my girl. Okay. I'm in Trader Joe's every single week. Yes. Okay. Yes. All the time. But even where I'm getting my meats from It's going to a butcher. It's going to places that I know for sure they are farm raised these things. My eggs come from my aunt's neighbor has a chicken across the street. So guess what? We get fresh eggs.
I love
like
that.
it's great. And so it really had to come down to what ultimately do I want for my body?
Yeah.
So high inflammatory foods for a lot of women is triggering. And so I had to decide that I had to go on a low inflammatory diet. So dairy, I'm a little mildly lactose anyway, but like dairy products, it be swelling us up. Our gut don't love it.
Yeah.
So there are things like that. My acupuncturist is the one who told me like, you gotta alleviate the 3 whites. So that's white sugar, white flour, and dairy.
Wow.
So if you look at those 3 things alone, it's in everything we eat.
It is.
Every single thing. So I had to switch from white sugar to a sugar alternative. So now I do a monk fruit sweetener. Super simple. It works the same. People feel like it tastes different, but to me, it tastes the same.
Yeah.
So I have no white sugar in my house. I have no white flour in my house, and I don't do a lot of dairy. If I do, I have to go out and get it, or like I love Mexican food, so I'm definitely gonna have cheese on my enchiladas. But in my house, I've now switched to like a coconut yogurt. Things like that. It's like small changes that you have to make because ultimately I want this cortisol good gone. Period. So there are just things I have to do that I didn't do before.
I love that. I think this is why you say you're in your regulated season.
I am.
Like you look good, you talk good, you didn't already, dissect it. Like I'm gonna shop here, and that's what it takes. But that took time.
It did take. Oh yes, it took some time to get to who this is right now.
Self-evaluation.
Yes, and that's the part nobody wants to do. Nobody want to look in the mirror and say, Janeisha, you're the issue. Okay, Janeisha, you're the reason why you are the way you are. You're the reason you're overweight. You're the reason why things keep happening to you. You are the problem. You are the problem. Who want to sit there and tell themselves that? Nobody. Yeah.
Self-denial.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
God. Well, tell us, one, how people can get involved with you. Mm-hmm. And then, give the audience, Be Real with Sarah, some advice in this season. Because you said so much that was probably like, what do I need to do right now?
I know. Everybody says that. So the one thing that I will say for anyone listening is you have to make the decision that you want to do something different. Once you decide that you want to do something different, it starts there. Making the decision is often the hardest part that people run away from. And like Sarah said, it took some time for me to become this woman that I am right now. But the first thing I had to do was decide who I wanted to be. And the woman that I looked in the mirror and saw every day, I wasn't happy with her. So I had to decide that I wanted to be and do something different. So that's the first thing. And then I need y'all to get y'all's labs done. That's if you don't do nothing else, you take nothing else away. You need to evaluate and say, when is the last time I had my blood work drawn? And if it has been 6 months or more, then it's time for you to go ahead and come on in, okay, for you to get your blood work done. So we can be found on all social platforms, Eudaimonia Wellness Beauty and The Regulated Woman. And I hope that you found some information that is very good today. If you have questions, I am an open book. You can always send me a DM, email us, because we are happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Whew, girl, you gave us a lot of information.
Yeah,
we're going to have to talk about this No Sleep With Me. We're going to talk about that like off the camera.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Because what's going on? Y'all, I mean, honestly, I like that. Like I said, I always bring great company in the hive, all right? But if you didn't take anything from her, just know that we got to get on track. Like, we got half of the rest of the year, and we need to literally get regulated. Like, all of the medical terms and all the things that she said, y'all, it went over your head, but she told you what to do. All right, so listen, y'all know what I tell y'all to do here is to always be real, spread the honey, and just be you. Until next time, bye.